speed to market is critical. We know that every single day, whether you're bootstrapping or whether you're that AI company trying to beat someone to the market to be able to establish, brand dominance. You got to get there fast, right? So we're all racing very quickly.
Welcome to The Parallel Entrepreneur. This is a special series on innovation supported by Relationary Marketing and the Chase Studios, recorded at the Greater Nashville Technology Council Innovation Summit. I'm joined today by guest host Johnny Anderson. He's the entrepreneur in residence at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center. Sit back and join us for this special edition of having authentic conversations with people that care. Building a strong entrepreneurial city doesn't happen by accident. It requires systems that actually work. Dakota Simpson is the Chief Program Officer at Nashville's Entrepreneur Center, where he leads 5 accelerators supporting founders at every stage. His work sits at the intersection of entrepreneurship, economic development, and community impact. Dakota is on a mission to nourish entrepreneurial spirit in Nashville. What makes Dakota's perspective unique is how he thinks beyond individual companies. He's spent his career working in government, nonprofit, and cross-sector environments, aligning people, programs, and incentives so that people can flourish. In our conversation, we explore why entrepreneurial ecosystems must be intentionally designed, not just enthusiastically supported, and how building the right systems makes founder impact more sustainable. Let's just dive right into this conversation.
What does innovation mean? And then specifically, what does it mean to Nashville?
I think everyone's answer to what does innovation mean varies because it's a very ambiguous term. For me, it doesn't necessarily imply creating something new. I think it means doing something in a new way. I'm a big fan of economic development and let's call it continuums of care. So I don't think we should ever innovate in a vacuum. So for me, Nashville innovation, what that means is, are we connecting the dots across multiple disparate organizations in a meaningful way that drives impactful change in our city? So that's a lot of hoopla. So let's run with a tangible example, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's hoopla. What's a meaningful way? Define that.
Yeah. So I think, for instance, like let's run through a founder's continuum. So let's say we've got a founder that's interested in the healthcare industry. So they start a healthcare company that reduces friction within the healthcare sector. We could say our job's done. They've started that company and they've got a business plan. It's vetted, seems viable. We've connected with them with some advisors. Great. But then what, right? They may need a chief technology officer, or they may need to contract out with software developers. Then we may introduce them to the Nashville Technology Council to really kind of run with that continuum and continue fostering that startup. And then from there, it shouldn't stop either. We should hand them off to the local Chamber of Commerce and make sure they're getting connected into the broader ecosystem and making sure they're landing clients and assisting HCA. And then who knows? It's almost like a feedback loop. It's innovating, reducing friction in a meaningful way that in the aggregate is more impactful than the invention or service that's been produced. It's a tangible ripple effect across our entire community.
So all of these reflections of success and alignment, how would you describe something that's frustrating? What's frustrating now?
That's really interesting, Mark. I don't know if I've been asked that lately. What is frustrating? I mean, if you want me to be candid, it's frustrating trying to keep up with the energy we've seen, but it's frustrating in a good way, the entrepreneurial energy we've seen. Post-pandemic, the explosion of entrepreneurial rates, I mean, it's through the roof. And really what's incredible about the data, we were just looking at this last week, is it's not went down. So, what you would expect pre-pandemic, or what I would have hypothesized, is, a lot of people go remote. They may have excess time on their hands. They may become, unhappy with their employers, and they may launch their initiatives. Okay, that spikes up. Everything goes back to normal, and, then they return back to work. But guess what happened? It didn't go back to normal, right? We still have a lot of remote work. We still have a lot of people that are innovating, a lot of people still frustrated with their employers. And we know adversity births entrepreneurship a lot of the time. So it's been fascinating to watch that those entrepreneurial rates maintain. And at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, we graduated 118 founders last year. The year before that, it was about 90. This year, we're on track to graduate 200 plus founders. Like, we're getting ready to double the impact we have as an organization. And that's a credit to Sam Davidson, our leadership, our board, and all of these people that are working hard behind the scenes. But candidly, it's also a credit to, your everyday person that's deciding, hey, I want to take my future and put that in my own hands, and I'm going to be brave enough to go out there and launch a business. So what's frustrating me at the moment is there's all of these amazing entrepreneurs, and there's so many incredible ways to serve them, but we're trying to balance breadth, but also depth of services, because we want to serve them all, but we also want to serve them all effectively. And that's something new for us as we've seen this energy and explosion in the city.
I have a theory that there's entrepreneurship. There are people that we recognize as serial entrepreneurs, one after another. And I've been working on a thesis and a research project and exploring the identity of a parallel entrepreneurship experience. More than one company at the same time. And in that exploration, I've noticed some trends. I'm curious if you're seeing any trends here in Nashville related to the average age of the entrepreneur. What's the demographic looking like, and how has that changed in your experience? And I'll share what my theory is, but I want to hear what your experience is.
Is this the do old guys have a chance question? I like that question. Do you and I have a chance?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would share, well, first off, Johnny, of course you've got a chance. I would share that typically we see we're serving founders of all ages and from all demographics. But I mean, it's true if you look at the trends, and something we're seeing, especially as we talk about prospective collaborations with Metro Nashville Public Schools or Belmont University, Vanderbilt, is the entrepreneurial participation by the younger generation, Gen Z specifically, is through the roof. I believe at last glance, 1 out of every 2 Gen Zers state that they're interested in starting a company, and almost that many actually do in some form. Now, it's not companies like I say we might think that implies I'm y'all's age, but just to be honest, I've got an old soul, so maybe I can kind of relate. But we're not talking about starting healthcare companies. We're talking about we might be operating a TikTok, or we might be monetizing video games, or it may actually be some more hands-on stuff. We see that, and that's providing those individuals with revenue and money, and that is a business.
Well, and I'm seeing it as micro SaaS services.
Sure.
I'm seeing it as AI problem solving for one specific thing they really understand, and they just set it and forget it, and it runs off, and it's a subscription. I'm seeing people excited about simple things like running a food truck.
Sure.
I mean, but my theory, I think it's being reinforced by this observation. I think the younger you are, the more likely you are to emerge into entrepreneurship as a parallel entrepreneur. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 things going. This whole side hustle culture, the independent contractor perspective that a lot of people bring. And maybe I'm not saying that starting a healthcare company that's going to become something, the next big anchor in town is not possible. I'm just observing this more explosive, more creative, more deeply niched entrepreneur at a younger age with technical skills, really putting some dynamite in the entrepreneurial path, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and hey, it makes a lot of sense. Like, if you really dive a little bit deeper, right, is they grew up in that environment. That's a skill that, we had to train ourselves on, but that was acquired by extension of, their environment, right? So that's something that's kind of ingrained in that population. I mean, if you think about it, I remember when growing up, I was raised by 3 incredible, strong women, and one of them was my great aunt. I remember she had a BlackBerry. iPhones didn't even exist, right? So it's a whole different ballpark whenever you've actually grown up with those innovations around you, and you've been learned how to use them, play with them, test them from a young age. But I'll also share, probably equally important, if not more important, is the barrier to entry is way lower when you're younger. I started a company whenever I was 16, doing DJing and event planning and renting out venues. Well, guess what? It's a lot easier to do that when you're not paying rent every month, right? It's a lot easier to do that when you have excess time on your hands because, yeah, of course you go to school and of course you've got homework, but you don't have all of the responsibilities of life that come down the road. So I think you see that. Our job is to make sure we're continuing to enforce that and make sure the younger generation is aware that, hey, there's a lot of adults that dream and work hard every single day to work for themselves and to have that freedom and that flexibility. And you're at a unique point in time where you can start that before all of these not problems. Well, sometimes they're problems. It depends on the day. Yeah.
Right? I mean, Nashville, the Athens of the South, there's 120,000 college students in this town. I suppose it should be natural that there would be a real bloom in entrepreneurship at that level, entering the culture here in Nashville and then choosing to stay.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting too is just the entrepreneurship by acquisition. I don't want to interrupt, Johnny, so I want you to finish your thought, but let's go down that rabbit trail because we're seeing that trend as well quite a lot.
Well, I think this is the first conversation I've been in weeks that AI didn't come up in the first 3 questions, but it's a good segue. Specific to entrepreneurs, what do you think AI's impact, and this is going to be a big question, but what do you think the impact's going to be, or what are you seeing some of the impacts right now?
Yeah, I really go back and forth on AI, just to be candid with you, Johnny, because, all right, so let's start with the obvious. AI has caused an immense explosion in entrepreneurship across the nation. But to your point, Mark, a lot of that entrepreneurship is, we call it AI wrappers, right? These individuals are able to kind of vibe code, if you will, and create a B2B or B2C subscription that really a lot of consumers could probably get if they interacted with ChatGPT in a meaningful way. It's just easier for them because the friction's been reduced, right? And it's already been built. So I go back and forth because we've seen an explosion of businesses and an explosion of energy around AI, which is fantastic, but also it makes me question how sustainable is that as AI continues to mature and develop. Like I've heard theories, I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts on B2B SaaS is, soon to be extinct, because why do you even need a software if we eventually get to an AI platform that is able to do all of that for you? So think about Tableau, for instance, data visualization platform. Do you really need that platform to input all of your data and manipulate it into visualizations if you have a ChatGPT bot or an AI bot that you're able to interact with, and then it spits the visualization out to you, right? You've actually circumvented the need for the enterprise platform altogether at that point. So yeah, it's a mixed bag for me, Johnny, and it's something we're still observing at a high level. What I share with my friends whenever they ask me this question is, I think in the long term, AI is just like your iPhone. It's not going to replace you, but it's a tool that you better become familiar with and you better learn to use because it's going to be with us for quite some time.
Yeah.
People deserve to have better tools.
Sure.
And everything that we talk about from a technology perspective is just a tool. I think, wouldn't it be cool if we could just talk to the computer and spit out an app, which I just spent 9 years building a company that built apps, Wouldn't it be cool if you could vibe code your way into rapid innovation? And I think it's the speed of innovation that is breathtaking right now.
Yeah.
The barriers you said earlier, the barriers to entry are lower. Knowledge is no longer a barrier to entry for almost everything. But I think knowing what kind of questions to ask and what kind of problems to address are probably where the solution meets financial success and really serves a lot more people faster. But speak about speed. Talk about how fast this is happening to in your observations to Nashville, with Nashville. How fast is things going?
Oh, it's very fast. I mean, just to speak once again about kind of the volume of individuals we're serving, we're seeing those numbers go high. I mean, double, right? And I know we're not the only organization experiencing that.
With the same staff.
Yeah, with the same staff. But we roll up our sleeves and we work hard because we understand that the impact while fulfilling on the individual level, getting to work with individual startups is meaningful, the impact is way larger than that. I mean, when we work with one startup, we know small businesses drive the economy, right? So we're talking about ripple effects throughout the entire region. So we're small and mighty, but we're also determined to make sure we make an impact. But yeah, the speed is incredible, Mark, in terms of the amount of founders that are innovating, in terms of the innovation, how bold their ideas are, and how much it just makes sense whenever you encounter these ideas, and the amount of friction we're seeing reduced in our lives. So, but that's good, right? Speed to market is critical. We know that every single day, whether you're bootstrapping or whether you're that AI company trying to beat someone to the market to be able to establish, brand dominance. You got to get there fast, right? So we're all racing very quickly, and yeah, I think I've run out of breath just talking about it. I mean, it's exhausting, but it's in a good way, right? And I think that's the challenge, is like, how do you keep up with the speed as an entrepreneurial support organization, as a founder trying to inventory all of these resources, as a consumer, I love leveraging AI, but it's like I find one AI chatbot and it feels like there's another one that's superior tomorrow, then the next day, and kind of wears you down a little bit.
On AI, I just tell myself, just dig into one, become as comfortable and expert with one. I've heard a lot of people move from, this one, shiny object, and then this one, it does a little something better. And I got some friends who are pretty sharp at this, and they set up playgrounds and sandboxes for the different AI tools to interact with one another. And some CEOs that I know are spending an extraordinary amount of time in AI, like maybe more time in AI than and in product planning and in sort of just really defining the direction of the company than I've experienced in the past, because they're tech oriented and they're smart people, but they're digging in really deeply. And then I hear an occasional story about somebody who lost their job recently and has been looking around and has spent the last 6 months pouring into AI. And their level of excitement, they don't feel unemployed. They feel like they're about ready to take on the world. Mm-hmm. So it's like an empowering thing. It's a deep dive thing. And it's also like, it's an experience. It's a living experience. It's just one of the most exciting things that's happening in our culture right now, I think.
Well, in some of our conversations, we talk AI, we go straight to the technology and the technology companies. But at the Entrepreneur Center, we've watched a pasta sauce lady.
Yeah.
That has leveraged AI to get her faster to market, to remove some of those friction points that an entrepreneur might spend 4 weeks and $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on getting their statement of work together, or their contract components, or their terms and conditions. And in a lot of ways, we often forget that there's a lady out there making pasta sauce, and the faster she can get that pasta on the shelves, the better. Let's not forget those. The world still needs ball bearings.
Sure.
And I get as excited about that component as I do the technology itself. And Mark, I think it's to your point. It's a tool for people. Let's not forget that. It's not the thing unto itself. It's a tool for people.
And it's a tool that opens up a lot of opportunities. I mean, to your point about Gina, right? There's another entrepreneur that we've served, Jason Rivas, who came in with a photography company, but he left with an AI company.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he leveraged AI in unique ways that really helped his service-based business. And before you know it, he's sharing that thought leadership with individuals that were members of his cohort. And he realizes, hey, there's an opportunity here. Maybe I should be instructing people on how to use AI to really assist their small and medium-sized businesses. Now that's predominantly his main gig.
Yeah. So opportunity there, you just like lifted up the covers on a topic about listening. He, in this example, saw an opportunity. He's listening, participating in a market and listening. What are some of the things that you'd like to see people listen to more?
I think broadly, I would say I would like to see people not only listen to, but validate others' ideas a little bit more. And then I'll get a little bit more of a specific answer for you, Mark. But what I'm saying is we see time and time again, regardless of AI, this is pre-AI and this is now even with AI, the number one reason startups fail are product market fit, time and time again. They experience a problem of their own and they think, oh, I'm going to solve this issue and everyone's got this issue, so now we can move forward. Oftentimes, that's not the case, and then they struggle to find a market.
Yeah.
So, just listening to others more broadly, like I think Jason did a fantastic job of that. It wasn't enough to say, hey, I'm struggling with this in my service-based industry. It's, hey, let me actually talk to other founders and better understand if they're struggling with the same concepts or if there's other areas I can encounter, right? And he kind of took that and really ran with it utilizing AI. So, I mean, I don't know, selfishly, I'm a community and economic development guy. Like if you look at my resume, that's what I've did my whole life. I wish people would look at more microeconomic issues, so on a citywide level, and lean into that with innovation. I'm excited about the recent Boring announcement. Like I think that that's an innovative way to get us transporting individuals, but that's not enough, right? And I think affordable housing, like all of these like buzz topics, but they're main topics for a reason because people are experiencing them every day. And like I watch and I encounter it in our community. I'd love to see people listen to those problems more and actually step up and demonstrate ownership and truly innovate and drive some more meaningful outcomes.
Hey, thanks for listening to another episode of The Parallel Entrepreneur. And thank you to our sponsors, partners, and the special team behind the scenes that make it all possible. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to our podcast and get the latest updates. And to learn more about this growing community of entrepreneurs, our mastermind and companion program for your parallel entrepreneur journey, visit parallelentrepreneur.com. And of course, thank you to all the visionary guests who trust us to share their stories.